Hello everyone and welcome to the first round of the 1994 Formula 1 World Championship. This track has played out to 11 previous Brazilian Grand Prix, and I'm sure this one will be an absolute classic. The last time we were here in 1993, Martin Brundle took only his second career win here, but the story this time is about the oh-so-dominant Williams cars. Can anyone topple them today? We'll find out soon. Looking at the news for this weekend, we can confidently say that all 15 teams have indeed arrived here. Thankfully so, it would be a shame if one of them didn't turn up. But obviously, as this is the Brazilian Grand Prix, everyone's eyes are going to be on the hometown hero, Ayrton Senna, who's still looking for his first win here in Interlagos. He hasn't actually won a race here, despite having a greater car than everyone else on the grid in numerous seasons. But maybe now that he doesn't have a dominant car, maybe he can fully show his talent and actually win here. Other news surrounding the paddock concerns about the new teams that enter Formula 1, those being Simtek, Pacific and Peugeot. Many people are wondering how they'll fare throughout the season, and although Peugeot currently have a car capable of qualifying, Pacific and Simtek are likely to not qualify for the first couple of races until the upgrades start coming in for them. It'll be interesting to see how the upgrades will affect the dynamic for teams such as Peugeot as well as Pacific and Simtek. Perhaps someday one of those teams could be on top of the world fighting against Williams and McLaren. Who knows? As the pre-race warm-up wraps up in the background, I'll quickly take you on a lap around this Interlagos circuit, and I'll show you all the tricky and easy bits around the track and where drivers may or may not make mistakes. Here we go now to start our lap, coming right past turn 15 up to the start-finish straight. Here we go, up to start our flying lap off today. Here we go. Look for the 100-meter board, brake there into turn 1, and make sure to clip just enough apex to make sure to straighten the car out for turn 2. Get that line right, and now right round to the curve as well. You want to hug the inside line. You want to make sure to also go wide on the exit as well. And now you're on the better process straight away. Go flat out through here, approach turn 4, brake right before the 50-meter board, and then just make sure to hit the apex and then get out as well. This could be a little bit tricky for the drivers as well because the cars don't really go side by side here well. But either way, going up to turn 6, I'm not going to pass most of the corner names. Up to turn 6 and 7, this could also be a bit of a trouble spot for most drivers as well because collisions are possible. And now we're right at the technical section, through turn 9 we go. It's all slow corners from here. We now rise up the hill towards turn 10, a little bit of a right kink before braking hard for essentially a hairpin. Straighten the car as best you can on exit, don't spin up the tyres. And now flow through the downhill left sweeper of turn 11. Keep to the right on the exit to open up the corner for Yun Shao and make sure to hit the apex exactly as you can. And then as soon as you get out the corner, you need to stab on the throttle and do not lift for the rest of the lap. You're going flat out to turn 14. And as you approach turn 15, you also go flat out to the pit entries on the left hand side if you want to pit in. And that is a lap of Interlagos. I managed a 1:15.2 on that lap. Well, how did the rest of the grid fare up during that qualifying session? Let's move on to the race session and find out. At long last, the first race day of the 1994 season is upon us. Let's take a look at the starting grid. Riccardo Patrese claims pole position by over 3/10 over his teammate David Hill. Not a good start for him during this teammate battle. Schumacher manages to line up third, which is a good job for the Benetton driver, and he lines up right beside Johnny Herbert, who surprisingly got the better edge over his teammate Senna, who starts from 5th place. Martin Brundle can only manage 6th in his Benetton, followed by the 2 Ferraris of Alesi and Berger, with not a good start for the Ferrari boys as it turns out. Behind them is Olivier Panis getting the better edge of his teammate Yuki Yavalejo, which is surprising considering this is his first season in Formula 1. Mick Hakkinen meanwhile is in 11th, that's a good starting point for the Lotus driver, and lining up alongside him will be Roberto Moreno. Behind him is the 2 teammates, this time of Pedro Lamy for Lotus and Heintal Frentzen for Sauber. This is his first qualifying session, so it's good to see him up the grid in 14th. A lot of drivers from here on out qualify right next to their teammates. An example of this is Aguri Suzuki qualifying about a 10th ahead of his teammate Christian Fittipaldi. And then following that is the 2 Jordans, this time of Carl Wendlinger and Rubens Barrichello. Gianni Morbidelli gets his head ahead of Luca Badoa for his teammate battle during qualifying. He qualified a 10th ahead of him. And behind him is surprisingly the 2 Peugeots of Eric Bernard and Jerry Lutsen. And yes, I did spell Bernard's name right, I did not forget. Anyways, Marc Blundell qualifies 23rd in his Tiro Yamaha, actually setting the same lap time as Philippe Alliot, but starting ahead of him due to the fact that he set this lap time first ahead of Alliot. behind those two is Christoph Boucher in the Lurus, and Yuko Katayama is the final driver to make it onto the grid, which means that both Pacifics of David Coulthard and Gilles Defern will miss out, as well as both Simtex of Jos Verstappen and Roland Ratzenberger. And with the grid now all set up for the first race of the season, let's head down to the track. The lights are now starting to come on, and the 1994 season is about to get underway any second now. The lights are out, everyone's got off the grid well enough. Ricardo Patrici's now going to have to defend from Damon Hill as they come down to turn 1. Hill on the inside can't get the move done. Ricardo Patrici will keep the lead. They are 3 wide in the back there, but one of the McLarens is sandwiched between 2 Benettons. I don't know who it is, it might be Herbert or it might be Senna, but the 2 Williams have rocketed off the start line. They've already got like a second or 2 gaps ahead, and that's Johnny Herbert now looking up to the inside of Martin Brundle. I thought that was Michael Schumacher there. Johnny Herbert looking to get the move done on Martin Brundle, and does so. Martin Brundle has dropped down to 4th place, and Johnny Herbert is now up to 3rd place. What an amazing start for the McLaren driver. Taking a look at a replay from Damon Hill, he seems to get a decentish start off the line, but he just hasn't got enough overlap as they go into the first corner. So Ricardo Patricic just about shuts the door on him. And so Damon Hill will have to remain in 2nd place for the time being. That's not the start he would have wanted for this season. Taking a look on board the replay of Johnny Herbert's amazing start, he actually got up to a similar start to Damon Hill's, but he got short 3 wide here because Michael Schumacher, I think, is going to sneak up the inside, or maybe it's Martin Brundle. Yes, actually it is Martin Brundle up on the inside. I got the 2 better drivers mixed up. But either way, Brundle actually got up to 3rd from starting 5th, but he dropped down to 4th because down the straight we go, Johnny Herbert will just duck out of the slipstream and send one right up the inside of Martin Brundle, and he will make the move stick out of turn 4. So that was a brilliant move there from the McLaren driver, a thought of move by him. Looking now here at Jerry Boutsen, and he's been spun around by one of the tails there. I'm not actually sure who that was. We'll get a replay of who it was now, and it was Mark Blundell who spun him around, so that might be a warning or maybe a time penalty. We'll see as the race continues on, but that's not the side that Peugeot would have wanted to start off the season. Moving on to lap 2 now, and here comes Ayrton Senna diving it up the inside of Martin Brundle, and now he's down to 5th place, so really not a good start after lap 1. But here, the Ferrari's battling. There's Gerhard Berger just about squeezing his way past John Alesi for 7th place, and they're being handed down by the Ligier of, I believe that's Yuki Avoleto. Not a good start for the Ferraris, but it's a brilliant start from Ayrton Senna. He's going to look for the outside of Martin Brundle as they come into turn 1 to start lap 3, and he'll get the move done. So Ayrton Senna now up to 4th place. So he's been rolling through the field right now. And here's Johnny Herbert coming out of turn 2. He's slowing down. He might have someone's wrong with his car. I think he might have had a misfire there. And through goes Ayrton Senna up to 3rd. Martin Brundle will also follow suit. And there goes Michael Schumacher as well. You see, he's hit his teammate. You don't want to be doing that, Michael. He's going to be down to 6th place. Let's see what happens here. He's going to send it just a bit too much and make contact with Martin Brundle. And that only impacted Michael Schumacher. We're only on lap 4, but we already need a little order check because there's been so much action everywhere that I haven't been able to keep up. Looking to P8, Yuki Avoleto has actually gotten past John Alesi for 9th, so it was a really bad start for the Ferraris. Looking to the 3rd page now, Williams Barrichello is down in 17th, so Jordan's not looking that good at all. And looking through the rest of the field, Badella 21st, I suppose that's to be expected, and Pedro Lamy has retired. We didn't see that, but I can tell you now that Pedro Lamy did indeed have an engine failure, and the camera just did not catch that, so already race over for Pedro Lamy. Not a good start to his 1994 season. Here comes Michael Schumacher trying to again pass Martin Brundle. Will he do it safely this time? They're still going to be battling off a turn 2 here. But Michael Schumacher will get the move done, and he safely passes his teammate up to 5th place. A good move for the German there. Moving ahead to lap 8 now, we're going to be focused here on Heinz AltF1 battling with one of the Ligiers, and he seems to have a little bit of a problem. I think his engine has just shut off, and indeed it is. Heinz AltF1 has retired, and it is indeed another engine failure that strikes down another competitor. There's no smoke coming out of that machine, but it is indeed an engine failure as it goes down as one. Meanwhile, already on lap 11, we have our first pit stop of the year as Ayrton Senna has come into the pits. He's already out of the pits. That tells me that he's indeed on a 3-stop strategy. That is really interesting for the Brazilian. We'll see if it pays off later on during the race. Lap 13 now, and Riccardo Patrese is already stuck behind some back markers between the Minardi and the tail of Yukio Katayama. He's having a little bit of trouble trying to get past, so if he's not careful, Damon Hill might get by, and he's slipped wide. There goes Damon Hill up the inside. Has he made the mistake? Yes, he has. Damon Hill has capitalized on a mistake from Riccardo Patrese, and now Damon Hill leads the 1994 Brazilian Grand Prix. Riccardo Patrese might try and get him back though on the straightaway because he's sitting in the slipstream. Will he look for a move going into turn 1? We'll see here. He's going to try to make the move, goes up the inside, and it does indeed reclaim the place. So Riccardo Patrese now back into the lead, and we've had 2 lead changes in the span of 30 seconds. And if you think they were done battling on lap 13, just take a look at 3 laps later. Damon Hill's going to try to go up the outside, but Riccardo Patrese says no thank you. He'll dive up the inside of the route, and he'll keep first place. There's Martin Brundle currently up in P5, and there is smoke coming out of the engine there, so Martin Brundle might be having an engine failure there. That's not what the British driver wanted to see here at all. And that's not what Yuki Avilato wanted to have happened to him. He's had a humongous accident there. I don't know what happened there. It might have been a brake failure of some sort as we ride on board. And I think the brakes do indeed cut out, and that's a huge accident. Thankfully he didn't go barrel rolling, but I think he'll thankfully be okay from that accident. Looking here at Martin Brundle now, he's on the threat from Ayrton Senna, which is not much of a surprise considering that engine's now down on power. You can see it's smoking away, and Ayrton Senna makes easy work of him. Martin Brundle now down to 6th, and Ayrton Senna up to 5th place. Looking here now at the 35 pole show of Eric Bernard, and oh, he's had a engine failure of some sort. Oh, and that's, he's kind of one of the losers of Christophe Bouchou. He's trying to find a way to get off the track, and he's not being able to find it. He's going to have to be pushed from every other car. That's going to cause a little bit of mayhem. That's Johnny Herbert who's stuck behind there. I think Anderson's going to be stuck behind them as well. They're all just not going to get past him. I think he's going to find a way to pull off the track there, and he does so. A lot of pandemonium there, caused by Eric Bernard not being able to pull out the track. And there goes Martin Brundle, the engine finally giving up on the Bernard driver, and it was indeed an engine failure from Eric Bernard as well. So 2 engine failures within the space of 30 seconds. A lot of engine failures happening in this race. I don't know what's going on there. I don't think the engines here are too reliable. Don't tell me that's another engine related failure, is it? There's smoke coming out of the back of the Benetton. Christophe Bouchou has joined the list of engine failures. Moving away now from the list of engine failures, Schumacher is now coming under some pressure from Ayrton Senna, but these two are on different pit strategies, so that could play a good factor in between those two. And as a matter of fact, on lap 25, Michael Schumacher now pulled into the pit lane. Will he be able to keep his position ahead of Ayrton Senna? We'll soon find out. There goes Ayrton Senna there. Is Michael Schumacher still in the pit lane? Yes, he is. I just seen him there. So Ayrton Senna is now back up to 4th place on track. And there's Schumacher actually in the pits now. He is now currently P5. So Schumacher has a lot of work to do to catch back up to Ayrton Senna and possibly still keep in touch with him during this race. Looking down on your bottom half of the field, that's Carl Wendlinger going up the inside of Christian Fittipaldi, and he's going to make the move stick. So that's Carl Wendlinger now up to 12th place, so that's actually more mid-pack than I thought. Now looking at Olivier Panis, he's having a good whistle till 10th, and he's now not racing at all. Engine failure claims the Frenchman on his first outing in Formula 1, as you can see in the flames back there, that's not a good sign at all. Another not good sign is Rubens Barrichello. He's had a suspension failure right in the middle of turn 3, but thankfully nobody else collects him, and it's just the Brazilian that's out on the spot. Looking to the race leaders, Hill and Patrese are on a different pit stop strategy, but that's not really going to matter in this race because there's only a 4-second gap that separates the 2 drivers. So not much action happening up at the front. Looking here now at Michael Schumacher, he's been having a fine race, but now his suspension has collapsed now as well. And from 4th place, the German is now out as well. A lot of drivers are retiring now in this race, as there goes Damon Hill now into the pits, and this will now give the lead right back to Riccardo Patrese. So it's all a lot of back and forth, even though I just said there's not much action going on at the front. Let's come down and look at the race classifications after pretty much half the race. As mentioned before, Riccardo Patrese in the lead. Senna's still in 4th behind Herbert. He's doing a brilliant job holding him back. Moreno in the Sauber's up to 8th, just behind Hakkinen. He's having a good race actually, now that I think about it. Only 16 drivers left, Blundell of which being the last man on track as it stands right now. Which means that 10 drivers have retired from this race, and a lot of them have been due to engine failure, so attrition rates is at an all-time high for this season. On to lap 42 now. There's a Ferrari trying to lap Karl Wendlinger. That Ferrari's not lapping Karl Wendlinger anymore because Karl Wendlinger has now had a suspension failure and now he joins the list of retirements in this race. A lot of people having some sort of failures. And there goes Bergenau as well. He was in P5, but a brake failure puts an end to his race as well. Lap 50 now, and the gap between Patrese and Hill is now 10.2 seconds, so I think Riccardo Patrese might just have this in the bag as it stands right now. There's John Alesi now going through turn 4. Oh, there goes Roberto Moreno! He's had an engine failure, and that just sent him right off the track. I don't know what happened to him, but hopefully he'll be alright. Moving away from all the retirements, here's an actual battle on track for P7. Christian Fittipaldi up the inside of his teammate Aguri Suzuki. Is he going to make the move stick? Yes, he is. Christian Fittipaldi is now off to P7. If a person ahead of him retires, that footwork will get into the points, which will be huge for them. Looking for the battle between P3, Herbert's pulled out a 14-second gap to Ayrton Senna. He might actually be able to finish ahead of Ayrton Senna in his first race out. That could be a huge state of intent for the British driver, but his car says otherwise. Now Johnny Herbert's out of the race from P3. That now gives Ayrton Senna into P3, and I can tell you right now, the crowd will absolutely be loving that. The Brazilian is now onto the podium. This race has been fairly chaotic with the amount of retirements that have been throughout this race, but something that hasn't changed out front is that Riccardo Patrese has shown that he is going to be the one to beat for this season. Coming into turn 15 for the final time, Riccardo Patrese makes a statement of intent as he dominates the 1994 Brazilian Grand Prix and takes the checkered flag. A lights-out victory for Riccardo Patrese. That's just what he needed to start off the championship. Meanwhile, in the background, well, not really the background, but here he is now, Damon Hill will bring home second place and make it a Williams 1-2. A dominant day for Riccardo Patrese sees him win by nearly 29 seconds over his fellow teammate Damon Hill. Ayrton Senna brings home a P3 for the Brazilian crowd, which they will be delighted about. John Alesi just about misses the podium, but can be happy enough with P4. Mika Häkkinen really in 5th place for the Lotus driver, and Christian Fittipaldi sneaks into the points in 6th place, giving footwork a good few points as well. Aguri Suzuki, Luca Badoa round out the top 8 with Gianni Morbidelli, Felipe Alio and Mark Lenoir being the last people to actually finish the race. Johnny Herbert will be devastated with the suspension failure he had with just a couple of laps to go, as I'm pretty sure he would have had P3 and what if it wasn't after that, but either way, he'll walk away with no points. The fastest lap of the race goes to Riccardo Patrese, unsurprisingly so, a 1:12.9, which is about 2/10 faster than I think anyone else on the field. 7 of the 14 people who retired from this race all had engine failures, which shows that teams will probably need to talk with their engine manufacturers to get them to have more reliable engines in the future, because if this is what they have for the first race of the season, I don't want to imagine how it will be during the rest of the season. I won't stop the standings here because they're pretty much just a mimic of what happened during this race, but if you really want to see them, there's a link to my Discord down at the bottom of the description, so have a gander at that if you want to have a look. But either way, thank you for watching this 1994 Brazilian Grand Prix, and I'll see you next week for the 1994 Pacific Grand Prix. Goodbye.